Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're here with the Beastmen, going to be fighting the Dark Elves. This is game 2 between myself and TzuDevil for the quarterfinals in Shadow's Spring YouTuber Tournament. So let's go ahead and jump straight to the army compositions. I've got Malagor the Dark Omen here, no Cygor summons though, decided to change things up a little bit this time. Try and get as much value as we can out of Bestial Surge. That effect, we've got Vile Tide, Devolve for direct damage area of effect. It's good against multiple entity units like infantry and cavalry. And we've also got the Mantle of Garok, which is a very nice little buff spell. At the cost of 30 armor, you get 44 melee attack, 40% weapon and AP for only 11 winds of magic. So it's a very, very strong spell overall. It does give minus 30 armor, but you think that most Beastmen units tend to have very low armor anyway, only 45 for these shielded Bestigors. 15 is more common, like for these Ungor Spearman Herd. Speaking of which, we have two of them, the one Minotaurs with shields and a single all-natural hormone-free Cygor. And then the rest of the army is all mobile units, so we've only got the 2 infantry and the 1 monstrous infantry, and then we've got 4 Centaurs with throwing axes, 2 units of Harpies, and then over here group of Centaurs and Poison Warhounds, Centaurs with great weapons that is, and then a similar group over on this side who have just managed to catch some Dark Riders with shields. We've got 2 more units of Dark Riders with shields. A lot of Blackheart Corsair handbows, so we've got 2 here and 2 here with 2 Witch Elves and a Death Hag on her cauldron. The Dark Elves also brought 2 units of Harpies, so we're probably going to get some Harpy on Harpy action. And Malekith up in the air. Let's go ahead and take a look at his spell loadout. He's got Chill Wind and Soul Stealer only. Interesting. Also looks like he brought the Crown, but not the other items. This is the Circlet of Iron here, so plus 50% map-wide miscast chance. Very strong item in general because it's map-wide and constant. But yeah, let's go ahead and kick the battle into full gear. As you can see over here, we already have routed off 1 unit of Dark Riders with shields. Not surprising with the overwhelming Harpies and Hounds here. These Dark Riders are definitely not having a great time. Meanwhile, you can see the Dark Elf forces pushing up. Obviously, since I have a Cygor, this is exactly what they should be doing. We're going to just pull up in a nice concave here. Decent Gaze of Malice, although it's better to use that against infantry. And looks like we're going to hit the Harpies here with Mantle of Garok. So you can see they're up to 67 melee attack and 42 weapon strength. And they're going to just crush this other unit. And the nice thing is that these units are exactly the same. And so we're able to kind of see the effect of that spell here just in and of itself. Decisively allows these Harpies to beat the other unit of Harpies there. Only a 600 point on 600 point engagement, but still a good showcase of how powerful that spell is. It just decisively, decided that engagement there. So unfortunately, this unit of Centaurs did get caught, but over here on this side, we're just continuing to pick off these Dark Riders. They did come in and overwhelm these Harpies a little bit, and we had to pull back with our Centaurs, but now we're coming in for another timing push. My opponent's Harpies also getting in there as well. You can see him trying to push forward here, but the Death Hag, since she's all alone without any infantry support, we're just going to hit her with the Minotaur Rush and then bring in the Ungor Spearman Herd to support. She does do terror, but when she's facing this much armor piercing, and I call her she, it's actually they. There's actually the Death Hag and these 2 Witch Elves here who do their own little attack. One of you pointed out recently how they kind of throw their little knives, and it does actually attack. I have watched since then, and if that knife connects with someone, it does actually do damage. Meanwhile, over here, unfortunately, getting my Centaurs with throwing axes caught by Witch Elves is very bad, but we're going to hit that Vile Tide in there to refresh the vigor and, of course, to do some decent damage. Vile Tide is particularly good against low armor targets, which these Witch Elves, of course, qualify. Meanwhile, the rocks being thrown by the Cygor at these Blackheart Corsairs. Malekith's going to come to the ground here, so we're going to immediately rush in with these Centaurs with great weapons. That being said, we're being shot in the back by these handbows, so it's not going to be the best engagement for me. Probably I'm going to lose out those Centaurs. You can see them getting terrified there, but we are able to clean up most of the Witch Elves here in the center pocket. That Death Hag is also routing as well, so now, since these Minotaurs have shields, they have a pretty decent missile block chance. I believe it is, let's see here, we actually had just hit them with the Mantle of Garok as well that I had missed to help take down that Death Hag, but yeah, they do have, I believe it's a 55% missile block chance here. Yes, so they'll be able to block some of the incoming fire as they chase down these handbows. They also have the speed to chase them down as well, so you can see them getting in there with the Bull Rush, definitely bucking those horns. You can see the Witch Elves being routed off and the Handbows just being pushed off. I want to try and keep my Cygor as safe as possible so it can fire in and do the damage here. Hounds just kind of being used to tie things down here, similar with these Ungors. The Ungor Spearmen just being used to kind of push these units off and keep them away from my Cygor. Meanwhile, Malekith comes to ground over here, and again, we're going to take the regrouped Centaurs, the throwing axes. We have one unit who's relatively healthy. The Minotaurs are going to get in here and do some damage, but they'll definitely take some damage in return. Unfortunately, we don't have the Mantle of Garok on them right now, but since their backs are turned to the Handbows can then shoot in and fire. So very nicely done for my opponent here supporting Malekith, but he also has taken quite a bit of damage from those Dark Riders here also coming in. But yeah, the throwing axe is doing quite a bit of damage to Malekith, but then the Dark Riders coming in to try and clean them up. Very nice use of the Chill Wind as well to apply that Frostbite effect to slow these guys down, keep them from being able to get away. And you can see the missile fire from these Handbows is definitely legit. I really like the pick of the Handbows in this matchup. I think they can be very, very useful. This other unit here you can see kiting away, shooting as they kite. They are shooting only at Ungors and Hounds, so not the best, but still. This situation over here, though, has allowed these Handbows to sit still, and anytime they sit still, they're going to be at much greater risk of getting hit by the Cygor Rock. If they're on the move, they're not nearly as likely to get hit, but over here, we pop the Mantle of Garok on these Harpies, thinking, okay, they can come in and get some damage done on Malekith, but nope, a couple of sprays of Handbow fire, and they're out of action. But we are bringing in the Hounds and the Ungor Spearman Herd to, again, just tie down this pocket here. You can see actually routing that unit of Handbows, all things considered, especially with the shock damage from the artillery. Malagor himself relatively safe at this point. If my opponent was to come back here and goon Malekith was come back here and goon Malagor, very similar names, but yeah, he would be able to get him pretty easily and might change the balance of power. But at this point, the Dark Elves are so far behind. Do still have some time left on the battle as these Handbows continue to try and kite away. Malekith may be trying to get some more magic, but the one issue is my opponent didn't bring Power of Darkness, so he has no way to get more Winds of Magic. Like in this situation, when you have these units that are very tattered, like he could cast that Power of Darkness on, let's say, these Handbows here, or maybe one of these other units nearby to get some additional Winds of Magic. Maybe pull out one more Soul Stealer. If you were to put that right on this big blob here, it could do a ton of damage and potentially pull this balance of power back a little bit. But at this point, things are going to definitely go in my favor. We'll soak up some cinematic action as these Minotaurs charge through. Nope, looks like they decided that was a bad idea. So, yeah, just keeping them on station in case the dragon decides to come down and try and get on Malagor there. That unit of Centaurs just got shattered by the Dragon Breath, unsurprising. Continuing to chuck what throwing axes we have, though. It's going to do a little bit of damage over time, won't do much. But at this point, army losses are going to start to be a problem for the Dark Elves. You can see Malekith comes down right on top of the Minotaurs. Interesting choice. I guess he just wanted to take him out really quick, but we're going to drop the Mantle of Garok, I believe, on the Centaurs. Yep, so you can see they're up to 71 melee attack with decent weapon strength as well. That's going to be enough to shatter Malekith, and with him shattering, the rest of the Dark Elves shatter. So ended up being actually a closer battle than it initially seemed. The Handbows were able to do very well there in certain situations. You can see a few of them getting quite a few chevrons, 61 kills and 50, considering I had a relatively low model count army. Outside of these two units of Ungor Spearman Herd, it was all cav and low model count units. Very, very decent kill totals there. The Witch Elves getting run over was pretty rough. 80 kills on the Death Hag was decent, but she also got taken out relatively early on. Malekith himself racking up 71. TzuDevil, considering that he is a dwarf-only player, did very well for himself using these Dark Elves here. The Harpies, I mean, I got the better of the one engagement, but the other Harpies definitely helped support in that engagement, in the flank there, in that flank engagement where some of these Centaurs with throwing axes got tied up. They also were able to deal with one of the units of Centaurs with great weapons relatively easily, but the Cygor definitely being an MVP, 112 kills, a lot of those coming against the Handbows. Minotaurs is also racking up 12 kills, a couple chevrons. That's mostly from taking down the Death Hag. 33 and a chevron on these Harpies. I don't remember, I think both these Harpies initially had one chevron each to begin with, so one of them was able to pick up one more through the course of the battle, and then 30 kills and an XP chevron for these Centaurs. No chevrons on the rest, but this one specifically managed to rack one. Yeah, very, very decent for TzuDevil. 71 and 80 again for the heroic units. And yeah, I mean, the Dark Riders were able to do pretty decently also, catching out quite a few of the Centaurs and so on. So yeah, I do take the series 2-0. It's a best of 3 series. But still very well played by TzuDevil, especially this second game. I was, pleasantly surprised with how he played. Did very well for himself. So you guys be sure to check out his channel if you want to see some dwarf action. Of course, be sure to check out the organizer, the man himself, Shadow Online Gaming. He's going to be casting all the games eventually, so definitely check him out as well. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.